had intimated. Buddy, he heard about it.
Hey, son, you got us here?
And he said, I tell you what, you want to fly a helicopter? You go fly a helicopter. We're done. I said, I'm done with helicopters.
Sonny, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Boy, he didn't, he go Air Force, they just don't like helicopters.
They do not.
But see, when we were flying, 2R4, you know, which is Milton T, there in Milton, Florida. And see, when we were flying, when I was learning to fly, we had 35, 40 helicopters around us all the time. Because you had one base leg, you know, they didn't use the other side because it was right off Whitey Field. So you had to land and take off on the same side. I mean, downwind and upwind right on the same side.
John, we're hearing some background conversation, so I muted the background conversation.
Sonny, did you unmute us for a reason? Or
Please announce to anyone who's there that they're being recorded and it's live to the public. Or you can be muted.
Okay, unmute.
okay, test. You got us, Sonny?
Yes, we can hear you. Can
Son,
you
if
hear
you can hear us, I cannot hear you. And my speaker volume is all the way up.
what speaker are you using?
I mean,
What does it say?
that just changes your. Yeah, it's just the video display.
It's
I don't know unless it's something you got a call coming.
Hello.
Hey,
can you hear us?
He said he had found.
But we can't hear you.
For his shop in Tipton.
I don't.
So he doesn't have to be up there close up.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Test, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. Sounds good, John.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
bye.
Thank you for saving it very soon.
Came in.
You can go on YouTube and they show how to do simple operations and things like that. I was thinking about trying.
You see the aim on that? Can you see, Joe?
long time, but
Might be up here.
And it's a 7 year.
Yeah, it's right on
so I-
Judge. Yep.
I extended it
Yep.
5 years, so. But it's not lost enough of its power to where it's only doing the top chamber right now. And so I have to watch my bicycle riding. I can't drive about like 10 miles, but if I do over 10 miles, I start messing up on it.
How's everybody doing today?
Hey, girl.
Wayne tries to limit his bicycle riding to 10 miles too.
actually I'm a little bit better at limiting and then that. Limit it
Hey,
way.
listen, at our age, to eliminate is a good thing.
I got that eliminated real well.
Did you bring lunch for me too, or just your own self crackers?
We
But
got
over here, Dane,
cheese
just wait.
crackers if you like.
Yes, we have
COVID, they have
crackers
to
and
get your
crackers.
own, you know.
I'd have brought my wallet. I'd have taken y'all out to lunch afterwards, but I unfortunately left it at the office.
Convenient.
We're all used to it.
We're free after the meeting, aren't we?
He has a checklist every day before he leaves the office. Remove wallet, put in this.
But John will float you along to a certain
Can you
extent.
leave that in?
Hey, before we get started, Mr. Browning has a little
Uh-oh.
update for
We,
us.
the CFO, Chief Financial Officer of the state, member of the cabinet will be here. Not next Wednesday, but the following Wednesday at 10:30 at Beefs. It's not a fundraiser, so government can go and everybody can go and everybody's welcome that wants to. We had the mayor last time where we had Ashley Moody, and I hope the mayor will be for this time, but any of the, please pass it on too.
Oh, 2 weeks from today.
21st,
On the 20th.
20th. That's a Wednesday.
That's a Wednesday.
That's a Wednesday.
Okay, that's Wednesday.
Okay.
This is too. That'd be 2 weeks from today.
Today is Wednesday.
All
So it's
day.
not next Wednesday, it's
And
following.
he's the who?
Florida
Chief
State
Financial
graduate.
Officer, member of the cabinet, Jimmy Petrone.
Did you graduate?
Well,
And everybody,
it's,
just if you want to come meet him, he's a really nice guy. We're gonna have him in a little while. No big agenda. Just trying to help work for Wayne. He came to get challenged to bring him in. And he's the one with the whip at the chamber. I'm just one of the petty things.
Stop it,
So,
John.
we're gonna make him announce.
You notice the chambers over here on one side of this whole table.
That's right.
Mhm.
You can move over here for enough time.
I'm where I need to be.
I'll move.
But Wayne's gonna probably introduce him. He doesn't know that yet. Okay, that's all I got.
Okay, well, we're going to get started. Thank you, Mr. Browning, and we'll look forward to that.
Thank you.
Welcome to everybody, and it's nice to have each of you here. We need to do a roll call. Sonny, is that you?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Chairman Newfeld,
Here.
John Browning,
Here.
Wayne McLean,
Here.
Hugh Ross,
Here.
Melissa Miller.
Absent.
Thank you. Ken Johnson,
Here, ma'am.
Dana James.
Present.
We have a quorum, Mr. Chair.
Thank you so much. Okay, that being done, we need approval for the minutes of the September 1, 2021 advisory board meeting. Do I have a motion?
I move approval. Ken Johnson.
Thank you. Second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you. Again, I want to welcome everybody here, and it's so nice to be able to put together. I had the exquisite privilege a few months ago of shadowing Mr. Hugh Rawls as he did a flight check on an Embry-Riddle graduate in a Comanche 180. And it was an interesting experience for me. I've never shadowed you before. And prior to the hour-long flight, he spent an hour going over the engineering data of that little airplane and the weather and flight manual and the airport, arrival airport and departure airport. And I thought about that as I thought about that, I thought about our airport advisory board. And that's very much what we do around this table. We donate our time and our talent to help the city, to help the airport, to help our community have a better facility and to bring the we've all been able to grow into and learn and experience to the betterment of our community and our airport. So I wanted to say a word of thank you. And with that analogy, we'll move on into the rest of the agenda. We have a lot of important stuff today. And I think the next thing on the list is public comments. And we're happy to have you with us, Mr. Valencourt. Did you have any comments?
I really don't. I'm just here to answer any further questions or just here for moral support.
Well, thank you. Well, we have some interesting stuff that pertains to you
Excellent.
on our agenda, so we'll just keep on moving. Does anybody else have any? All right, then we'll move on to the next regular part of our business, 4A. And the first thing that we have is a continued discussion on long-term land leases on and off the airport for private hangars. So we left our meeting last time with a lot of ideas and some instructions from the city manager and about what we needed to look at as far as the best low-cost conceptual hangar site layout. And Andrew and his team, I think Matt is prepared to give us a little introduction of his work, and we thank you for that very much. We know that it is a lot of extra help that y'all do for us always, and we sure appreciate that. So Matt, would you like to speak to that for a minute or two?
I want to ask something.
Oh,
Judge,
yes.
I just want to ask, you're on item 4D, not 4 alpha?
Well,
Yeah.
oh, am I jumping around?
You jumped
Just
ahead
wanted to-
there, sir.
Just wanted
to say, you said 4A,
I'm on the old agenda. My apologies.
I just wanted to bring
Can
that
I
up
have a
that,
new one, please? I had the one before.
You have a couple.
Yeah, thank you. So
John's fault.
So let's back up
Probably.
and let's go to 4A on the new agenda that I should have had in front of me, and my apologies. And so we'll start with the airport rehabilitation project update. And I think that is, Matt, you?
Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, sure, and I'm still Matt and Andrew, the sketch you see. John, can you bring us up to the sketch from Matt's email yesterday? Sonny's gonna help us?
Did Sonny get it?
Yeah.
Well, I emailed it out to everybody.
Yeah, we got it,
There
we got it.
you go, there you go.
There
That's
we go.
it.
Yeah.
So
So,
got that in front
Thank you,
of
Sonny.
so this is the logical continued progression of input from the FAA, looking at the pavement management program for the airport and looking at the oldest pavement on the airport. Every year when the city meets with FDOT and FAA, they're going to logically look at the pavement management program, find the oldest pavement and say, is that logically what we're next? So this pavement is the oldest pavement that has yet to be rehabbed on the airport. Last year, it was the one that the FAA said that last segment of taxiway Bravo, we've attached some other things to it because the taxiway Bravo designation makes it a higher priority to the FAA. But we made it taxiway Bravo, the fueling apron, which is also overflow apron for the transient apron, and then the loop taxi lane that connects to taxiway B. We're trying to get the FAA to consider all that in one project. It would become a design project next year and then logically become a construction project the year after. That's typically the progression with the FAA. And again, this is normal AIP funds. It's not any of the other special programs coming out from the federal government. It's just a logical program that you get money from every year. So that's kind of the sketch. And we just wanted to bring it to you because there will be a grant pre-application going into the FAA. Year, we're going to request money, the city will request money to do the design and bid documents for this project in 22, and then not do the construction until literally 23 and 24. What's the portion of the city's financial? Well, Wayne, if things continue as we expect right now for next year, you know, the indications are it could be zero again, that it's,
We like zero.
that it's 100% FAA. Now, don't know that, there's no commitment, but that's what it is this year. And there are indications that that would continue next year. If it isn't, there would be some share for DOT and the city. Again, the DOT could put up 10%, even if the FAA put up 90. In that scenario, the city share could be zero, or it could be 80% DOT and 2% city. We really don't know, but it's going to, the city share can't be more than 5 or 2%. That would be the maximum we would expect.
Any other questions? Yes, please.
I think, thank you, and thank you for bringing, this is the way I think we'd like to have things It's laid out, it's easy to see, easy to understand. Great job, looks super.
That's Matt. Matt did it,
Great
not me.
job.
He's
But
the
it does,
man.
and I think on a lot of the stuff we talk about, when we can have it done like this, keeps a lot of discussions. That looks super.
Keeps us on the same page.
Keeps us all on the same page, and it's good, really good.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Any other comments? All right, then, I don't think there's any action we need to take, correct? So we'll go on to 4B, and that's a big discussion, where we're looking at the 6-unit T-hanger with sliding doors.
Just, I guess, to try to cover the bases, since we're gonna submit the pre-grant app, maybe at least we could get a motion from the board as to whether they were in support of the project, and then we can check that box.
All right, that's beautiful. Yes, we can do that. So
What does that mean then on here where it says reviewers? Does that mean this, what does that mean, Don, where it says reviewers on?
So you picked one document to read in the whole stack, and you're gonna ask a question about it?
Sorry. Does that mean that agenda item was reviewed or the documents were reviewed?
Right, that's all she's
Okay,
talking about.
gotcha.
Yeah, that is, yeah.
No problem. Thank you.
okay, I'd like to entertain a motion.
I move that we support the pre-application for fiscal year 2022 for the airport pavement rehab. As discussed.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion?
John, this is Sunny, and we lost audio. John? Mr. Kaufman, this is Sunny. Are you able to hear the meeting?
Hey, Sonny, I think I'm in the same boat as you. It was going great and I can hear you now, but that's it. It looks like they've completely dropped off the meeting.
I'm contacting the airport now. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So we need, so what I hear you saying is.
Okay, we're back online here, so.
We need to be six, but going forward, as we discussed last time, going forward, I think it's the preference of what we talked about here, this board is put hydraulic doors on anything new beyond this, right?
Correct. And we would still have the ability to put 2 additional units on this hang in the future. If funds became available, but it cannot be a hydraulic door. Once we do the 6 sliding doors, the entire building will have sliding doors. We cannot mix and match the hydraulic and sliding.
I thought we probably should bring, we didn't really talk about before either with the, no.
What? No, I just.
So the other part besides the hangar was the electrical lighting upgrade, lighting up really existing hangar. If we wanted to, that came over budget by about $50,000, but you could award the low bidder and kind of negotiate basically a different scope. That- If you wanted to try to use $100,000, that the DOT would go forward. Let's hold up for a second, okay? So you get all that.
He's moving, he has,
Yeah,
he's bought just up the road.
You're welcome,
The other
bye,
side of
Sonny.
West Creek. And that was the incentive to move his shop onto our field. He likes our airport, but there's no available hangar space for him to be here for one. I was gonna give up my hangar and let him put his shop in mine, but that would have to be blessed by the board here to change the regulations, because the regulations say you can't have a business in that hangar. So that's gone away for now.
All right, then let's go on to 4D. That's the one that we left off on last time with some ideas, and Matt, you've done a nice job of giving us some ideas, so we'll let you speak.
So this plan is, yeah,
Let's get Sonny to bring it up.
oh,
Son, can you bring up the
So-
site
so-
layout?
No, it was one of those two PDFs that I emailed yesterday. You had the one up just a minute ago. It wasn't part of the package. There we go.
There it is.
That's it.
Thank you.
Yeah, so this was a follow-up on what we discussed last month in regard to, it's the same area we were looking at, but to provide a kind of planned layout for multiple hangar parcels of a standard size, make it more of a planned, organized idea. So what we're showing on this is there's 5 hangar parcels there. They're all the same. They can accommodate, they're sized to accommodate a 100 by 100 hangar, and then a 100 by 75 foot hangar apron out in front. So the standard lease area shown here is it's 150 feet wide by 248 feet deep. It's 37,000 and change square feet. So that's bigger than what we were talking about before. But that's essentially what we're showing here, you know, to make this work. You know, we're talking about a little bit of taxiway work that would be needed to get us started. Even if you were to build this whole group of hangars, you would need a whole taxiway loop is what we're showing, which lines up nicely with taxiway Alpha and Bravo on the other side of 27.
Can I inject something here?
Sure,
Could
go
we
ahead.
possibly make that feeder go to the runway threshold instead of out to the number? It would look weird, but
Oh,
that's where the runway begins, at the threshold.
And
right.
the only reason we didn't was
Mhm.
we assumed that people could be going back and forth for the airfield on Bravo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it matches that.
Right, so we did.
Okay.
We wanted to match that. Just, I hear what
Okay.
you're saying though.
Okay.
Yeah, that when people are
Well-
going back and forth between the main terminal area and that terminal area or the
No, that's
hangar
good.
area.
That's good. And they can use
You
the
do still have
displaced.
access at the end.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
displaced threshold.
When you say a little bit of taxiway work based upon.
Well, a little bit is what we had last time. Now, if you wanted to build out this whole thing, you got a significant amount of taxiway work.
How on the map up there, show me how they would get back and forth, because I don't think they're gonna let you use that other gate. If they did, you're gonna,
Well, they were coming off Moody Road.
is that the way you're gonna let them come in and out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then in terms of accessing the airfield, they would either come up the taxiway Alpha extension here on the end, or the loop would go through and connect here to Bravo. So we're talking over here right now.
But no cars, that would just be airplanes. The cars would come in off Moody Road and come to the back of their
Right.
hangars.
So from an FAA perspective, with security issues and so forth, having a separate entrance at Moody Road is not a problem?
No.
But the fire department makes it.
No, it's.
Well, I can tell you one thing, if you
no,
try to
it's-
get in any airports that I've been, other than the main, you ain't getting in. I mean, they're.
Because of the
Of
terrorist
course,
situation.
of course, I mean, I just would say to you, that's a concern. I'm not talking about the hangars, but good grief. And if you have, look, you either, but there's a lot of cars. I see cars everywhere out here, and if you have it where they can go, I'm concerned about everything not being focused here. That doesn't take away from doing it. I just think that we have a nice building, a nice entrance, a nice thing, and the more that we can get people, to me, the worst thing in the world would be Bass Pro, let's say, ends up over there. I mean, they're pretty quiet people anyway. You never see them. You never know what they're doing. And I think it's an advantage to us to try to get the people in the fold. I mean, we get to see them, we talk to them when they come in. I'm just giving you a, not negative to the hangars. That just is a concern. May not be anybody else.
We have a gate over there that we can, with the cards, we know who comes and goes.
Don't tell me about the cards. I can't get in and out of here with my card now, as you know, they're always broke. Are they not?
But when it does work, it records you came in and
They're
then left.
broke. They're broken.
And we'll get you
Broke all the
another.
time.
Well, John, they do try to limit those
Yeah.
security.
So,
Might be programmed to keep you out. John.
What's the last stupid question? Why haven't we put them down here towards water management? Why haven't we thought of putting,
RPZ.
This is a new idea while we're discussing this.
what, no, it's not, this right here, you can take that, I like the hangars, but I'm just curious why we haven't looked at putting them into a more convenient for the people, for us, for the gas tanks.
Well, the FAA will not allow us to use any roadway crossing on the north section of 1735 to cross the threshold. That's the biggest design standard. Even though there's a bunch of land between 1735 and Water Management District where old 1230 used to be,
Right.
There's no way for a car to go back and forth. So if you put them over there, they can't. And we don't have any access to Route 100 in that area either. So we can't get to Route 100. We can't get to the terminal area
You could put.
unless you go all the way out to 309.
Right.
Which is a part of a long-term plan to someday come off of 309 and bring an access road in from the west. But that's not.
Okay, I just didn't want to.
But all of the sites that we have identified for future growth are all gonna be remote. You know what I'm saying? So whether it's here, there, or over there by CDR, they're all gonna be remote with access from another.
Correct.
yeah, and I'm sorry. go
And
ahead,
this one does have the features of all the utilities being right there and very minimal expense for 5 as big as 100 by 100 hangars, right?
Well, minimal expenses, another one of those things like Andrew questioned a minute ago. I guess that depends upon how you define minimal. That's what I was getting to when you say a little bit of paving based upon the projects that we've done. What's that little bit of paving likely to cost?
No, when I said a little bit, I meant if you were to just build this right now to get to one hangar, that would be a little bit. That's what we talked about last month.
Yeah.
Now you're talking about if the city needs to figure out if they were going to move forward, how you would build this out. You don't have to do it all at once.
So there's two things occurring. There's obviously the drawing you see that Matt prepared. This is FAA standard, very expensive. In all honesty, it's the full build out, just like you'd build any taxway in or on the airport, and you'd most likely have to try and secure a grant from the FAA or the DOT to do the taxway the way it's shown.
Sure.
Now, taking that back to day one, somebody comes to you here, and I'm not referring to him or Bass Pro Shops, but if somebody came to you today and said, I want to be tenant one, I don't want to wait for any of these grant things to happen. How could you accommodate me today? Matt and I already talked about that. That would be the second unit on the site plan. Okay, the second unit in from the right that lines up with the existing pavement on what is taxiway alpha. It's the second piece.
Yep.
You only have to build a small piece of that to get to the hangar. You would make the tenant responsible for their own connection. You would make them responsible for the sewer and water connection. And you'd still try to do it so the cash outlay to the city would be zero. Now, whether they want to do that or not, I don't know, but I think that would be the city's position. We're not going to build you a temporary taxiway. Someday, we hope, in the perfect world, that the FAA will grant us X amount of dollars, % to build the entire loop and make it all perfect. But on day one, for you, you've got to build your own connection with your own dollars, because we're not going to. I'm just putting that out as a
That's a
consideration.
good point.
But that, there's already base material, there's already a taxiway, there's already pavement. There's a lot to build on over there in terms of the difference between being in an open green field. But that's really only for the first one.
Yep.
After that, it becomes a challenge of how you do number 2 and number 3 and number 4. But the first one is pretty easy to do.
Gotcha.
So
Dana had a question a minute ago.
And please correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought the last time we had this on our agenda at the meeting, our next step was to have a joint meeting with commissioners to get a feel for that sentiment before we expended a lot of time discussing it when it's something they are totally.
Well, I think that we've had some conversations about the need for the board to look at something. My concern that we not piecemeal hangar development. So I appreciate the the work done to show potential 5 hangar sites, or I guess there's 2 drawings. I guess the other one shows 8 potential hangar sites, if I'm reading that correctly.
John's got a conversation on that separate.
Okay.
Yeah.
But so then I guess that from my perspective, it's better to provide the city about the option than less. And I think that a visual like this helps me as well to look
I
at
totally agree.
the
That,
issue.
yes.
So my problem is, and has been and will still be, the idea of making provision for one easily accessed hangar to be paid for by whoever wants to come in for that one, but then having no similar accommodation that we could make for number 2. You say the cost of developing that taxiway or rehabbing it or whatever you call it is X, but to go to the next one, it's going to be X plus something significant, which is what I'm hearing from you. You didn't give numbers, but that's kind of what you said, or you said that this one's already got base there, et cetera, et cetera. But if you go to the next one now, you're going to have a different ballgame. That's what you said.
Yes.
Which I'm taking to mean it's a different price structure, a whole different field that we're dealing with. Then the question comes one of, well, is it fair to let the first person in take advantage of that more, I guess, modest expense, understanding that from that point forward, you're probably going to have a discouraging factor or limiting factor because the next person that comes in has to pay a lot more. And the reason I wanted to see the whole concept was, if you're going to do this, and this is just a thought, it's not necessarily a position I'd advocate for the commission right now, but if you're going to do this, then it seems to be there's some logic to looking at the cost of putting the whole taxiway in and what that's going to be and how we fund it, and then making 5 sites available instead of singling out the first person that comes in and giving them an advantage in number 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, talking a whole different ballgame, because they might not ever come in. I mean, and I don't know what numbers we're talking about. I mean, so when we say a little bit and then a lot, because everybody's got a different slide rule for that.
Yeah, we haven't taken any close look at it at all yet.
So I'm just gonna, that's just something I'm throwing on the table from my perspective. This drawing or something like this was exactly what I was looking for, was
That was really the reason.
give me a concept so I understand what you're talking about, where it is, what it would look like, et cetera, et cetera. And you have, and I know engineers don't spell well, so I assume the retention pond means retention pond at the bottom of the page.
Yes, you got that.
Can I say anything? Can I chime in real quick here? Okay, so if I was to come in, number 1 hangar, I take the one on the right. Okay, I don't have any problem building this wide piece all the way out here. I'm actually going to have more expense tying in. I'm gonna have more expense tying in as the first guy. This base you see all right here is not gonna be that helpful. I'd be the one to tie in. I would also then take the water connection and then have it stubbed out to my adjacent property line. So when the next guy comes in, Actually, this guy would have really sweet, because he would be, and I actually may take that one, but still build that piece. But like, well, because you have
Have a
to,
change of plans already.
well, no, but you have to start over here, because that's where your water and sewer is. You have to start here, because you can't leapfrog it, because you don't know what you're gonna do. So here, but then as they come down, they can just build this taxiway, and then, you know, future, if you get a little extra grant money, maybe tie it into the broad. But you just make every tenant, just like a sidewalk in a subdivision, they build the sidewalk in front of their house, and then they also are responsible for leaving the stub for the next guy for the water and sewer.
That's a good point. Thank you, sir. Very much.
That's all.
Yeah, I want to, and I want to put this in, I agree with Don Holmes completely on this, on what he said.
Oh,
You all right?
gracious.
Wait a minute. Can the record reflect that?
Just
What
watch
you
out.
place
Just
on the
slap you
agreement
with the other
something?
hand, just watch out.
If there is, I'm telling you right now, two points. There is enough interest, so you're going to sell these hangars plus more. I'm
Yes,
telling you, it's going to happen.
absolutely.
And I think the price, and I will disagree with my friend in the back a little bit. I think the price of this ought to entail a part of this whole thing being done up front. Get it done right, and you'll be surprised how quickly.
That's what Don bringing
I-
up. That's the main key word being conceptual now.
Exactly. But to say that you're going to do, and just my opinion, you say you're going to do this one, let this one come in and just part of this part, go ahead and figure in all of this into the price of what it's going to take for me to build a private hangar there and charge accordingly.
So Wayne, are you saying determine the cost to build the entire taxiway loop, and let's say it's $500,000. Then tell each of those developers that in addition to their land lease, they need to put $100,000 towards the taxiway system?
That partially, yes. But what I'm also saying is this is a little, I don't think we're really thinking big on this in terms of the hangars. You got 5 for here. I'm telling you, there's much more of a need than just 5 hangars for this. And, but to sit here 3 or 4 years to wait on us to get a grant to do this is going to put us. So
We're already behind.
yeah, and so I don't know how you figure this in, but I'm just thinking, make that part of the cost of this hangar and go ahead and get the infrastructure in place as if a subdivision was being built and then charge accordingly.
And I understand that too, Mr. McLean, but I like Mr. Valancourt's idea, and maybe we could lean on him some if we, in our switch from a little private, small plane
Yeah.
airport to a commercial is a big step. And I agree with you that there's a lot more to come.
Wait,
If we started with the 2 and had him do that, could we not build on as we went like a subdivision?
You could, but how are you going to price it accordingly?
Then each man pays their fair share.
Yeah, but what is the fair share?
They gotta build it. They gotta build an apron anyway, just go out there and build a taxiway.
Yeah.
Okay, if you go to St. Augustine, you want to build something right now, I don't know, you don't pay for what's in front of you. As far as transportation costs, we got one over there, just gave us a bill for 750, we got 50-foot, 75-foot going on the road. We're paying $750,000. $750,000, well, we're gonna pay 50 feet, 70 from 50 up to 75. As you go, you really gotta look at the big picture.
That's what I'm saying.
And I
Jim.
don't know what the number is, but I also think, and I like him, know him, he does a great job at everything he does. We ought to get to head, at least touch base with Bass Pro. I can tell you who to get to, I can get to them. And let them know what we're doing and get their idea. If they are in fact looking at coming here, I think they are. And say, okay, this is what we plan to do. We think we have this one. What is your thoughts? Is this in line with your thinking? If we talk about them all the time, but we don't talk to them. So I think that you might get a lot of it done if they do, in fact, that this hangar might even be close to big enough for what they do. So wouldn't that be, I mean, I'm not against doing it. But I think Wayne's right. You are. Let's look at the whole thing. Not opposed, make sure everybody pays their proportionate share. It isn't like that. You don't take 500,000, it's okay, you're gonna pay 100. These cats down here, by the time they do it, look at the difference in 1 year on these hangars. $400,000. What do you think, 5 years or 6 years, this guy down here is probably gonna be paying 500,000 to get his. So I just think we try to plan. We know people want to come and we want them to come to be here.
So John, if Mr. Valancourt took one, and this is, the two's, I've already got somebody for two. I mean, this is not conceptual. I've got somebody for
Probably
two.
three, yeah.
And so, I mean, and if I've got it, I'm telling you, the need is out there. And I agree with Don, we need to go ahead and get the infrastructure in place.
When you build a subdivision, you don't build it one lot at a time.
That's right.
I mean, I heard what Mr. Valancourt said, and certainly I don't challenge his knowledge of how building's done in places, but you put the basic subdivision, infrastructure in for the roads are all there. You don't build a road 50 feet at a
Roads are done
time.
first.
That's right. The roads are all there, and water sewer is there, and then, you may do sidewalks or whatever, but it just seems to me as though exactly what you said, John, that if you, with the way the prices are increasing, there's just going to be a huge limiting factor for 3, 4, and 5 when they come in, if that's how many you have. And, I don't know what the commission will do, and it's going to be their choice to make. But if you have the right, I think a big challenge in it, and all this is going to be the rules and standards that you come up with as to what you can put in there, how you have to maintain it, what all those kinds of things, no subletting, et cetera, et
How's
cetera.
it look?
It's all out
How
there.
does it look? You go to.
Exactly,
It's all
aesthetics,
out
Palm
there.
Beach
maintenance.
next week, they got, those things are lined up, and the bad ones, they made them get off the airport. I mean, the future's gonna be bright for us. I think you're right. We want to make sure we do it right.
This is going to give us, finally going to give this airport a cut above others, if we do
It
this
is.
the right way.
That's true.
And I kind of was like you or whoever said it. I thought we were talking about maybe 9 or
Yeah.
10 or 12 conceptual hangars, or not conceptual hangars, but conceptual plan for 9 or 10 or 12. But in looking at the space, it doesn't look like you got room for a lot more than.
Well, you can still build 20 more.
Yeah.
All we did was the first loop.
Yeah.
So just so everybody understands, you can
Go up there and point out.
Hold on. So what we're talking about,
You got to start getting.
we're talking about the loop, you go here to here.
Right.
That loop can go all the way over here to Taxiway Charlie. So you can do it again and again. You can do 15 between Moody
You're
Road
saying
and
lay 'em
Taxiway
out.
Charlie. All we did was show you.
Lay 'em out.
Yeah,
We just did the first
I
logical
am, John. I mean,
loop over
and that's just me talking. Everybody else may disagree, but I was saying
Well, you
lay out
said-
15.
Right.
Show me where they
I
go.
would- Yeah, lay out all of them, because you're going off the way this angle is, you're gonna go off. I think let's lay out.
Well, this is what we get paid to do, and that's to figure out what the
I
future's
agree.
got for us.
You lay out
That's what we get
15,
paid to do.
some of them are real big.
Well, I just want to say one more thing. The other reason that we did 5 was
And
that
they're on the way.
we thought, just listening to everybody over the last few months, is let's start with the first piece and see how that all goes and how the leases go and how the operations go before the whole thing goes out to be 15. You can do 15.
But I
if
think
you
we're
choose
still
to.
saying the same
Yeah.
But
thing.
at least conceptually, and
Yeah.
I'm not faulting what you
Yeah.
did. I appreciate it. I
Yeah.
like
I
what
think
you
it's
did. But conceptually, can't you at least put something on there without spending a ton of time and money that shows where 10 more would go? And if you,
Absolutely.
on a phase 2 and 3, let's say you did them five hangars at a time.
All the way down to
One-
Charlie.
Yeah,
We
1,
can,
2, and 3,
sure.
and you could say to the commission, this will be where your phase 1 is, this is 2, this is 3, so that they have an idea of what
Right.
you'd be doing.
That
And
makes
I think
sense.
the other challenge that we've talked about since we started discussing this is how are we gonna afford it? And we can't afford, according to what I understand, unless we're gonna wait 3 years for DOT money to do that infrastructure. So how can we wait another 5 years or 3 years or whatever that number is and start building our airport?
I can
So
tell you,
Andrew,
you
what,
got- You only got, excuse me,
go ahead.
you got 2, you only got 5 here. Bass Pro may be 3. We see who's interested.
You
I
pre-sell.
happen to believe that
Pre-sale.
if you put this out for 10 hangars,
Yes.
and 7 or 8 people come in there, you're gonna be able to build a taxiway.
But if I'm coming in to put a hangar in, it would sure make me happy to know that you got 10 more on the drawing board and where they're gonna be and
Right.
how they're gonna interfere with my
Right.
access.
And I
And
think they'll be willing to.
It already has holy water from the city commission.
yeah, I
You
mean,
got to lay
exactly.
it out. I think we
You
throw it
wanted
out
to
there,
say
see
something.
how
I'm
many
sorry, I was
people
talking over you.
respond.
What were you
No, I
gonna
was
say?
just gonna say, so Andrew, what if we tried to capture some of the cost of planning or some level of design in the FY22 FAA grant app?
Well, there's there's two things going on. The first is, and I don't want us to veer back to the initial discussion. You had your taxiway Bravo design that you have the pre-app for. You could ask the FAA for a similar concept design to figure some of this out, to advance it. Well, again, you're get those funds. We could take the same plans and double them pretty easily and take it all the way over to Charlie and show you how that would look. One more point I wanted to make, but it's kind of lost me here on that first FAA.
It's gonna happen more and more as you get older.
I can't stop it. I lost my train of thought on the third piece.
So 2 things are happening here.
So how are we gonna get money?
Well, I came back. If the $1.5 trillion infrastructure bill goes through, the traditional infrastructure bill, Palatka is going to be assigned roughly 750,000 to 1 million plus. And that's, even though it flows through the same airport improvement program, it's not going to have the same criteria assigned to it in terms of priorities. So it's basically going to be, FAA is going to say, Palatka, over the next 3 years, you can do a X amount project. This taxiway would be a very good project to build it, even possibly all the way down to Charlie and do the entire stretch with those additional
As your
funds.
infrastructure.
Correct. So that's out there, and we're having that discussion with a lot of airports. You don't want to pre-spend money that isn't even approved by Congress yet. But if it comes through pretty quickly, the dollar value actually assigned for the category of airport, we could find out what your dollar value, at least what the FAA thinks it is today, and that might be enough to do the entire stretch. And I'm just putting that out there as another consideration. So it could be quicker than you think, where we're not waiting 2, 3, 4 years to do either this loop or the connection all the way down to Charlie.
Hope that dream becomes a reality.
I think Wayne made the point, we got 2 people out of these 5, and possibly Bass Brothers 3. I'm telling you, you get all of them together, they'll pay for this. They'll pay for this. You won't have to take grant money or anything else. I mean, it's just normal. If we want to do this, then we've got probably 3 really good prospects out of 5. We put it out there and say, we're looking to do this, show them what we're looking to do. Let's see what we do. I think we're going to be shocked. I think you're going to get people to come in there. And then when you divide it up, like he said, it's not going to be that much. Then when you say to you 5 guys, here's what you got to do to put in, and make them pay. Everybody knows what they're going to pay. I just think we're at the verge of doing it right. And that's what we want to do.
Fourth potential. Yesterday, as I mentioned before, Mr. Jeff Nations came and talked to me yesterday. And so I had asked Matt to draw this up this morning.
That's in a
This is,
different location.
it isn't, it's over on the other side of the old CDR building.
Yeah.
And we talked about this, we've seen this before.
Mhm.
And I asked Mr. Nation,
How would they
are
get
you
it?
interested in a hangar? He said, I'm very interested in a hangar.
I think we understand this one concept right now,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
not muddy the water. So,
No.
can I make one other comment on this?
Let's see it.
It goes back to, and I'm just giving, and John and I will disagree on this, but in other airports, it is not uncommon for privately owned hangars to have a separate entrance going into their facility, even after 9/11. It's not uncommon. Fort Lauderdale Executive, for example, the land.
They all have them.
They all have. So I don't think that ought to be, that's just Wayne's opinion. I think that is a common thing, not an uncommon thing.
Well, you're not gonna have any choice. If we're gonna put them there, you're going to have
Right.
that. I'm just saying,
But it's gotta
We
be
need
a
to
better
look at-
system than what
we-
we got here
We
now.
hear
to
both
get
of
it.
them. We hear both of them.
the
Okay,
system
we
we
hear
got
both of
here
Yeah.
won't work.
Exactly.
And we should look at, this. If we're gonna look at that way, and we're gonna look at these others, have something to look at too. Where are we gonna have the entrance points to the airport? I think we got a lot of it. We just finished that out. I'm not opposed to it. Change the way you're doing
So-
it now.
So what, Don, Mr. Chairman, if I can ask, so Don, what do we need to do as the airport advisory group to move this concept along to help educate the commissioners? And I mean that in a positive way, so they understand what our long-term plan is. What would you suggest we need to do?
I think, get on the agenda, go make a presentation to them and show them what your thinking is. And that's gonna be, I think, the easiest way for us to determine how much further to go. I would still like to have something that shows, and it doesn't have to be, as I said, as, detailed as this is, but I think it'd be helpful to show what you plan on your next two phases, phase B
agree.
and C, to show 15 hangar design. And then you can certainly, not worry about funding or preparing for anything in phase B or C until you see what A is doing. We've all seen conceptual plans where there's not going to be demand for it, then so be it. But I'm afraid I'm like John and Wayne. I think you're going to have a lot of demand for it. But I also think of that process, you probably ought to be thinking about what rules you put. One of the fundamental things y'all have talked about, at least as I recall, is not competing against yourself
Right,
on hangar space.
right.
And if I could pay $450 a month and have my own hangar, or $300 a month and have yours, assuming I've got the capital to build a hangar,
500,
huh?
500 with the doors, plenty of room, put your stuff in, yeah.
Well, that's gotta be a market
That's
question.
another,
It's a market question,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying, you are competing against yourself to a degree, but, the cost and expense and the upfronts and all that stuff way into the deal there that that I think all has to balance out. For me, if it's commercial stuff or, business, buying gas from you and doing other things, it's a no-brainer. You're getting spin-off. If it's a private airplane, then you just aren't getting that much spin-off.
I could see us going there for a presentation or something, but my understanding is we're kind of over the shoulder anyway,
Right.
Cerro is the one who makes the presentation as he talks with the city manager. We can be sitting there if he would give us some bite.
No, but to have Judd there, Judd's spoken to, I think would be good.
I'll do that.
Yeah.
Judge is just.
Well, I think they'd want to know what the airport's,
Right.
advisory board's position is, but then ultimately it's up to them for sure.
Right.
But if y'all all weigh in and say, hey, we think this is a great thing, and this is what we have an idea so far as your revenue would, et cetera, I think that'd be a help.
Plus, this is far more than just airport hangars. The folks this is gonna bring in is gonna bring stuff to our city and community. Look what it did to Fort Lauderdale Executive
everywhere,
back in the day.
look at St. Augustine.
Yeah, it's true.
Good grief.
This is gonna give us such a leading edge.
Well, we're down to 4 minutes, and John hasn't got to give us.
Oh,
his
sorry,
report.
John.
I think this is.
Oh, that's
5
okay.
minutes.
We got
It's
okay
okay.
here.
We can maybe move ahead with that, rest of that picture.
We're gonna draw another concept all the way down to Charlie's.
The report to us.
Yeah, and then do you want us
Definitely
to
copy it all the way down.
Yeah,
Just wanna see how many of these will fit.
speed it up, go ahead and do the commission?
Yeah, just go ahead and do whatever, but I'm saying on his report.
We'll get it on.
Send it to him, he can get it.
Oh, his
Yeah, right
report,
here.
Yeah, I
yeah.
think
Just let him do his report, and this morning.
I think it's important that we get
Yeah.
on the agenda for buy-in before,
Yep.
the conceptual plan,
Good
I think we
idea.
ought to go forward with. But before we go any beyond that, let's
Sure.
see what the commission's,
And
hang on,
add
it is.
those to it. I think that's.
All right, beautiful.
John, you got a minute and a half.
Go, baby.
That's about all I need. I can blow through these.
No, I think
Basic-
we're good, John. I think we can all read your
Yeah,
reports.
I've read
It's in there. It's in
So,
there.
well, I've read it.
Is the revenue, the expenses versus revenue, and it's all in there.
I'd like 15 seconds to say that. I'd like the Pacero group to confirm to me what I already feel, I know well, is that the need is ridiculously high for this sort of thing, all over the southeast.
Hangar demand, no question. Larger corporate jets, that's a little bit of a different animal, but it's still, that is also very strong. But small aircraft, every airport has a
I've heard
waiting
about
list.
has a 100-person waiting list for hangars in this general area. And
Correct.
that's ridiculous. We really need to move on this and take advantage of where we are and who we are. We can be on the front of this and really take a lot of this off of the other airports.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you all very, very much. Is there a last comment? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
All right, do I have a second on this side? Adjourn. Thank you.
All right.
Good to see you, Ken. I don't see you before. Hope everything goes well with your pacemaker.
Yes, sir. I'm